Hello, a Fire Blow critical and maximize builds. Let's talk about what makes this skill good early and endgame. Skill board, zodiacs, charms, and more coming up next. Before getting into the build, I need to explain quite a few things. First, this skill doesn't use any shadow links, but triggering is also not a good choice. It scales heavily from area effect and projectile count, but multi-shot link rune doesn't work on the skill board. It has to be converted to physical, but it's not a problem as we get plenty of rare link rune selection boxes early in the game. Playing on fire damage doesn't make that much sense, especially if you're looking to play this skill from the start. If you looked at the leaderboards and saw some people doing trillions of DPS on this build, I can only say one thing. That damage comes from min-max builds and it's really hard to achieve that. But right now, let's go straight into the build. Early skill board for Fire Blow. On Fire Blow we have Convert Physical Damage, Extract Earth Energy, Quick Attack, Confidence, Area Effect, and Find Weakness. As a seal we are using Seal of Critical Chance. For defensive seal, Seal of Dodge, but you can use any seal that you have. Counter Attack in here is to apply Pain Effect on enemies to increase our damage, and it gives us a little bit of dodge rate. All of the toggles are linked with Dampen Resource Cost to maintain your mana. Attack Enhance is Fighter's Rot. Defense Enhance is Bulwark Protection. They both are linked with increased duration and time acceleration. Shadow Provocation in here is for armor amplification buff. On Shadow Provocation we have Lingering Shout, Hushed Shout, time acceleration, and Predator's Roll. We have buff activation and hit, so this one makes it so Shadow Provocation would proc automatically whenever you are hit. For movement abilities it's Roll and Leap Attack linked with Disarm. Zodiacs for a critical build. I'm gonna start with non-specialization nodes. The only thing you need to know is that you can always spend your points on specializations much earlier than I'm showing. First spec opens up when you spend 22 points, second spec 45, and third spec 70. But for me it's easier to show you non-spec nodes and then I'm gonna talk about specialization. Let's start with Aphros, Forest, Jewel, Leaf, Root, Flash, Rainbow, Breath, Dust, Artemis, Spider, Leia. Display of Lightning is to apply shock effect to enemies, and shock effect increases our damage. Farmer, Typhoon. For the spec, we have a few choices. Early, I suggest to do Darkness. In here, we want to pick up Convert Mana, HP Absorb on hit, and then Projectile Count. At the start, you're only gonna have 7 points in here. But when you finish Green Questline in Soluto, you're gonna have 2 extra points on the first specialization and 2 extra points on second specialization. On second, Dance of Life and Projectile Damage Amplification. Sailboat, Projectile Count, and Damage Amplification against crowd control and debuffed enemies. Maximize build. On skill board we have 2 changes. First of all, we always want to use Seal of Persistence. This is the most important one. And instead of Find Weakness, we are using Persistence Link Rune. It disables our critical hit, however it gives us a lot of damage amp. And it's early easy to get, as you can buy this one in Act 5. For the Zodiacs, we only have to change Elaborate Attack into Distorted Senses and we're done. For Charm Blessings, we want to have Hamal, Alyssa, Boreal, and if you're looking for the fourth one, you can do Castor. Charm Affixes for critical build, we want to have critical rate and critical damage always on our charms. The third affix is up to you. Maximize damage would be the best, however getting something like HP multiplier, HP flat, some resistances, or even critical damage taken dampening is also a good choice. For a legendary prefix, we are looking for maximization chance, because whenever we are doing a critical build, we can also do maximize damage. That means getting maximization chance, which is both Double maximization and triple maximization chance is a really huge boost to our damage. If you can get maximization chance, the next best one would be strike damage amplification. This one is also gonna increase our damage by quite a bit. Getting something like critical damage is also a choice, but not really that huge of a damage increase. For a maximized build, we want to have damage multiplier and maximized damage multiplier as our two main affixes. The third one depends on you. If you want some defenses, you can go for HPs. If you want more offensive, you want to pick up damage when two-handed weapon equipped if you are using a two-handed weapon. If you are using one-handed weapon, that means you want damage when one-handed. For a legendary prefix, we only scale from strike damage amplification, and this is the only one we need. Relics, we want to have caster in here to pick up Sanctum effect or area effect on the passive. On the active, we want sensory stimulation, cooldown recovery speed, and increased buff effect. Don't forget to summon your caster, otherwise active skill is not gonna work. Second is Pika for powerful damage. Third is Sebda for chaos resistance. And the last is Boreal, as this one can only be level 15. And we have no other choice. Enhance HP. Masteries, weapon, armor. On the second, you can also pick up Solar Echo instead of Survival Instincts. Accessory, again on the second one, instead of picking up Strength and Center, you can pick up Quick Feet. Alchemy Masteries, in here, the main point is to pick up Enhanced Potion. After that, I chose Mana. On the fourth, you always want to have Absolute Perfection and Spring of Inspiration. On the fifth, Excavator Soul. And with the leftover points, you can pick up some Synthesis Acceleration. Itemization. For the weapon, we have two choices, as any weapon has two types of bases. One base is with a critical rate of 7, that means it's a low critical base. Depending on the weapon, it can be 8 or even 9. But on Septa, it's critical rate 7. On this one, we want to do a maximized build. So for the affixes, we have weapon attack damage multiplier, maximized damage multiplier, and then physical damage flat. These three affixes on a maximized build, you want to have it on your weapon. Everything else you get is a good addition to your damage. On a critical Septa, as you can see, this one has 11, and this is the maximum amount of critical Septa can have. However, you don't need to do Septa on this build. You can also do Axe or even Staff. It's up to you. For a critical weapon, we always want to have weapon attack damage multiplier and gear critical rate multiplier. As we scale from critical, we really want to have these two mods, and gear critical rate multiplier is the most important one. After that, it's up to you. Critical damage is good, physical damage flat is good, any other mod is good, and it's gonna give you extra damage. For defensive itemization, I'm gonna use a chest, and this is basically how you want to craft all of your other equipment early in the game. What we're looking always on our chest is get armor multiplier, always. If it's a dodge chest, it's gonna be a dodge rate multiplier. You always want to have your main defense multiplier. After that, it's HP. With those two prefixes, you're already doing pretty good. The third one is up to you. You can pick up armor flat or HP flat or even physical damage taken decrease multiplier. On the suffix, you always want resistances early. So it's Chaos Res, I would say it's the most important one. After that, just try to fix your resistances and do not play the game without capped resistances. This is non-authority crafts. When you start playing game a little bit more and progressing in the game a little bit further, you're gonna switch your suffixes into some kind of authority craft. And that authority craft is gonna be more offensive. But for now, keep your suffixes as defensive as possible and keep your item crafts as defensive as possible. Uniques. For a critical build, you want to have Caster Refraction. It gives a flat critical rate and critical damage. This flat critical rate fixes all of our critical issues. On a maximized build, we want to have Band of Certainty. And together with Band of Certainty, we always want to use Seal of Persistence. Otherwise, their passive effect is not gonna work. And this ring is the main reason why we don't want to have any chance to deal double maximized or triple maximized, as this ring is more than enough. Later in the game, on the Fire Blow, we want to have Verity Awakening for extra projectile count and projectile damage amplification. For the links, convert physical damage, extract earth energy, focus, fighting spirit, awaken it to source, area effect, awaken it to origin, and amplify physical projectile, awaken it to source. As previous link runes didn't have any requirements, but at the same time, they don't give us as much damage amp, this would be a little bit more offensive skill board. We have Strike Awaken it to Source, but we need to overcap our attack speed, otherwise we're gonna lose damage. We have Iron Will Awaken it to Origin, but we need to have 24k HP and 500 strength for this to work. At the same time, we can use Mana Storm, but Mana Storm is gonna require a lot of mana as it increases our consumption. We can use melee damage amplification, but this one requires Origin Awakening. Otherwise, it's just gonna break your build. Area effect in here most likely is gonna be good for a long time, unless you are running a low projectile count and increasing your area effect doesn't help with the overlapping of your projectiles. We have Seal of Striking in here because Seal of Critical Chance shouldn't give you any damage at this stage. You should be able to cap your critical without it. Veil of Protection is another defensive layer for melee damage taken decrease or projectile damage taken decrease. Illusion Axe is utility for Center of Gravity, awaken it to Verity. If it's not awakened to Verity, it's not gonna give you any damage stacks. Fighter's Wrath, awaken it to Origin, together with decreased duration, awaken it to Source. Totem Activation, upon using Enhanced skill, we have Weaken Totem. This one increases damage to the enemies because it applies vulnerable effect. Totem has Enhanced Totem link rune linked to it for extra totem effect. On Shadow Provocation and Fighter's Wrath we have Enhanced effect, which is basically just skill rune effect. Shadow of Justice in here is to remove hard CC. If you are using this together with buff activation upon crowd control, it's gonna do that automatically for us. I switch Leap Attack for Penetrating Slash, as Penetrating Slash has a fast animation. For the later Zodiacs, instead of doing Darkness, you can experiment with Dawn. For the Dawn, you want to have Convert Mana. If you don't need Convert Mana, just go Strike Damage Amplification and amplifies damage by 5% attacking and HP absorb on attack hit. At the same time, you can even try to pick up extra area effect. It highly depends on your build what would be the best, so I highly suggest to test. On the second Hail, we want to pick up area effect and area damage, Tempest, and Observer. For the third Sympathy, we want amplifies damage by attacking and damage amplification when using movement skills. And with this one, you always want to use movement skills to have that damage amplification all the time. This is not the only way to do it. You could also try to do Hammer, but Hammer has no utility, it has no HP absorb and no convert mana. But if you can solve those problems from your items, this one might be quite a bit more damage compared to other ones. For a maximized build, only one change. Just remember to keep your Seal of Persistence. You don't have to remove Iron Will, or you can remove Iron Will and you can remove Strike in order to pick up Persistence. However, Persistence is not as big damage amp, you might be able to find something else, but I'm leaving it in here just for representation. No other changes on the skill board. On the Zodiacs, again, there are no changes, just a reminder that you want to have distorted senses. Energies for the maximized build, you don't have to do anything. Switch any link rune that gives you the least amount of damage amplification and pick up Extract Energy Awakening to Source, and you want to have +2 Awakening. Otherwise, you're not gonna negate the negative effect of the tooltip. I have another Extract Energy in here, Awakening to Origin. This one, Swords, give us damage. Origin one gives us damage taken dampening per energy possessed, and you want to have it on a skill that doesn't hit too often, and the best choice is the movement skill. For a critical, our skill board is the same, it's just that we have Seal of Striking, a Seal of Persistence is only for maximized build. The problem is not our skill board, the problem is the negative effects of the Extract Energy. So for example, Cold Energy reduces our critical chance, while Lightning Energy reduces our maximization chance. When you are maximized, you don't care about those things, but when you are critical, it's your main damage. How to fix it? We can do that through zodiacs. We want to pick up some zodiacs, so I'm gonna remove 5 points from Typhoon, 5 points from Farmer, and we have 10 points. We want to pick up Electric Current Wall, which reduces lightning debuff effect, and Cold Frost Shard, which reduces cold debuff effect. This is not gonna solve your issues, but it should alleviate a little bit of it. However, to have still a damage increase on a critical build, it requires quite a bit of investment, but this is a good start. Triggering on a Fire Blow, I don't suggest to do it. As you can see, the skill board right now is in shambles. I had to remove some of the stuff. I can't get it back because I need more skill board space, and it's gonna be even more of a problem for new players, but I think somebody is gonna want to do it. My opinion, I don't suggest to do it. However, I'm still gonna explain. So first of all, we have spell activation on hit. On the Thorn Explosion, we want to have Origin Awakening. It gives us 2 extra projectiles, and those projectiles can overlap, and we are already stacking area effect, so with the current area effect that we have, it should overlap. On Thorn Explosion, we have Amplify Physical Projectile, Awaken it to Source, Strike, Awaken it to Source, Mana Storm, Awaken it to Source, Considered Area Damage, Awaken it to Source. If considered area damage removes your overlaps for the Thorn Explosion, you need to remove it, but it shouldn't. And of course, we have Extract Earth Energy. Thorn Explosion is most likely the best choice in here, as any other skill is not gonna be as good. Besides that, Zodiacs are correct. You don't need to do any changes on your Zodiacs. If you want to do energies with this build, just remove any of the link runes that you don't need, or the ones that give you the least amount of damage amplification, and you are set to go. This is the end of the build. If you have some questions, ask them on YouTube or when I'm streaming live. For now, bye bye and see you in the next one.